Alright, you bastards, this is part 2 of when you get evicted, and this is in part 2 we are going to talk about how to live in a car. And like I said in the first video, this is not the sort of homelessness where you don't have a job and don't have a home. We're talking about you have a job, but by some reason you got evicted. For the reasons, possible reasons for eviction, look into my first video. So yeah, I'm going to demonstrate a way to live in your car for months without any, I would not say without any problems, but to make it make the worst of a best situation till you find another how do you say this, another home to rent, another place to live, another, perhaps your buildings or renovations are take that much time, and that's a long time you have to live in your car. That's a reality for a lot of people, and yeah, could be problematic for some people. But if you are a prepper, you are able to do this for a couple of months. I'm not talking about a period for years. I'm talking about a period that usually between a few days to a few weeks to perhaps 2 or 3 months, perhaps even 6 months, depending on the season, because in the wintertime it will be very much more brutal to do this. But yeah, this is reality for some people, and in some people are desperate for these things. I wrote the things down because I don't want to forget any points, because I'm actually outside here in the car. So yeah, if I did this a one-time take, I'm going to do for all these tips. So if you're going to live in your car, I would say there are certain tricks that other people have used, and one of the tricks is never park in the same place twice a week. Why is this? That is because some people, we all know the Karens, the people who are noisy, the people who see some strange car in their neighborhood and they call the police immediately. So if they, it's actually common sense, because if you see a certain car in your neighborhood that you do not know and is there for apparently no reason, you would assume that they are burglars who are observing the neighborhood. So you cannot blame them really. So I would say try to park your car at several locations on different times a week, because otherwise people will get a little bit annoyed with you, perhaps suspicious, and they will call the cops. And the cops, especially in Belgium, you cannot sleep in your car because that is considered wild camping and that is illegal. So you have to be very carefully and stealthy about these things. So that's the first thing. If you who are not sure where you can park, you could ask if you work at a certain job that has parking lot. Ask your employer if you could park your car and live there for a few weeks, and ask permission so you can do it. You can set up a semi-permanent place where you can park your car and live in it, and you're close to work, so that will save on travel cost, gasoline, maintenance. So yeah, that could be a little bit more handy, and especially if you can ask your employer if you are able to use the toilets or the facilities or the water of the job if they are in a very good mood. So yeah, some jobs will say no, some jobs will say yes, so depending on what kind of employer do you have. If you have a friend or family and they have an empty space or a parking lot or a piece of property where where you can park your car and live there for a certain place, ask them to do that, and that is much more easier. But I would also say, if you're going to do that, be very carefully where you would park your car, because certain places, I would always advise park on hard ground, concrete, street, or whatever, because yeah, because the problem is, if you park on something like grass, a field, a forest, there could be the problem that if you have grass, that it will create dew, and that dew, or perhaps frost or whatever, there is moisture around, and that could damage a car by rust or by other problems that could emerge by parking above grass, like I said, with the dew. So yeah, if you want your car to be in top quality for a lot of time, park on a place uh, like something, a hard surface. And another thing, if you park near a forest or something where there's grass grounds on such things, and where there are wild animals, that is another problem, especially here in Belgium. There are certain small critters that will sleep into your engine to get a little bit of the warmth. And these little critters, or those, yeah, we all heard about these animals that will sleep in the engines, bite through cables, and that could fuck up your engine too. So I would say do not park there, or if you're going to park there, put some chicken wire beneath your car so they will not be able to get inside of your engine compartment and fuck up your engine. So that's another thing you can do. Yeah, another thing is, if you're going to park somewhere, try to park somewhere where there are wind barriers. So if you're going to sit outside of your car, that you're not constantly in a wind tunnel between certain buildings, or in an open area where it's very windy. That could be a little bit problematic, especially if you're going to use a tarp, like I'm going to show you in a minute. Another thing is, don't park somewhere in full sun. Always have shade on your car, and that is a lesson we have learned from Ukraine, where a lot of Russian vehicles, their tires were just, they did not last long. And why is this? Because they always park their vehicles directly into the sun. And the thing is, you usually have to turn your car regularly, so the sun is not always on the rubber, and that will deteriorate the rubber if it's in constant sun. So always park where there is semi shade in a way. So, or you have to turn your car regularly, so it will not happen to your car either. So because, yeah, you do not want a flat tire when things are getting shit hit the fan like this. Another thing is, get some mechanical skills. I would say learn from a friend or from a person that you know that is mechanically inclined on how to maintain your car or to how to fix problems. Because if you're parking in a semi living somewhere in your car and there is a problem, yeah, that could be problematic if you have to go to the garage and you lose your car for so many days. So that could be problematic. So I would say read up on the manual. Always have your car manual inside of your car so you can fix things yourself. Always try to learn skills, try to learn from someone else how to repair, maintain your car. Always have in your car, I will show you in a minute, have some basic tools, have some basic fluids like oil and brake fluid, or something else or gasoline that you need to have in your car to keep it maintaining, especially if you're going to live in the car for months upon an end. So yeah, those are the first important things that you have to do. Now I'll show you how you could recently live in your car in a way. So I will just show you this by the magic of editing. So if you perhaps can see, this is all that it would take to live in a car for a few months. As this is a Fiat 500, it's a very small car. So if you have a bigger car or a pickup truck, it would be much more easier. So because you can have more room and put more stuff in it. But that is what I consider everything that I would need to live in my car. In the front I have my bug out bag. So yeah, I will show you now the important things that you will have to at least have when you're going to semi-live in your car for a few months. So for sleeping, yeah, it's just easy. You can have a sleeping bag, or you can just I would not say put a tent in next to your car for the reasons I'm going to show you in a minute. I would advise to get something just as simple as just a woolen blanket. Decline your seat all the way back as far as it can. But because I have this stuff and it's down, it cannot go further down. But for me, this is recently, I have slept in worse places. So yeah, just have a woolen blanket, because wool, even when it gets wet, perhaps by damp, I would say it would keep some 80% of its insulation value. So a woolen blanket is more easier for me. And the reason why I say to not really get a tent or a sleeping bag is because you have to react fast. If there is some danger coming, there are cops coming, there are some noisy people coming towards your car, there are some burglars, thieves, robbers, or people who just want to fuck with you because they see you as the homeless guy where they can piss on. So I would say a blanket is much more easier, because the moment you sleep, you hear something, you can react, stand up, reach for the gas pedal, steer, and just drive away. and that is more, or you can react in self-defense if there is a certain threat coming, or if the police coming and they ask you to move, you can just directly move, or you can just pretend, you can take your blanket off and pretend like you were just sitting in a car, because like I said before, if you are sleeping in a car in Belgium, they will consider it as wild camping, and yeah, that's not really handy for that. So in that way, you have a certain plausible deniability in that way. So that's something that you will have to remember. You have to use the hobo technique by you have always have to be able to get away very quickly. So with a woolen blanket, you can just take it off and act like you were just sitting in your car. And yeah, that's another thing. Is another tip I want to give is if you live in your car, never drink. Why? Because if you are, even if you have a few beers, I know it could be a hard time, but even if you have a few beers, you will always have to be able to drive away, whether it's for the police that they will ask you to move your car, and if they know you're intoxicated, you could be in more trouble. Or like I said, if there is a threat and you need to get away very quickly or react fast, you cannot do that if you're drunk or effectively. So that's something you have to keep in mind. So we're going to the next point. So power is another thing, because I would say if you have the chance to, like at work, you can have one of those power banks or power travelers. This is in particular a jump unit, so I can even use it to jumpstart my car in case there is it's very cold. But so you have enough electricity, you can take off of that. There are certain batteries, like I would say look into my video about how to create electricity at home. As a prepper, I have one of those big batteries that could last for days. This is for something that perhaps is for 8 hours or something, but it could give enough electricity for small appliances like a laptop, smartphones, so you can keep yourself busy on when you're living in a car. You cannot always read a book. So yeah, I would say. But if you're driving, if you can see, this is one of those adapters that you put in a cigarette lighter thing, and you can charge your cell phone with it, or charge one of the small lamps. And some people would say get a solar charger, but to be honest, there is not enough sun if you live in your car to do that, to keep on doing that stuff. So I would say try to use a little bit from everything. Charge your phone while you're driving. Use electricity from somewhere else, like at your charge this power banks at your work, and have one of those like this is one of those emergency radios with a hand crank. If it can open with one hand. As you can see, it's one of those hand crank radios that could also put some electricity into batteries or charge your phone or something else and give light. So as you can see, this will give light, and this small zero can also give a lot of light for a very long time, for almost no electricity. And you can, with these emergency radios, you can not only charge your small device, but you can also listen to the radio without using the car's battery that will run down. Because if you use the car battery too much, it will run out, and yeah, then you have a problem. Especially if you're going to do this months on end. So I would say keep it simple, keep it small, and search for your entertainment somewhere else. Another thing, I probably said these points before in the previous video, but if you're going to live homeless, evicted, or in your car, I would advise find some places where you can do everyday stuff for almost no money, or it can be worth this money. One of the first places I would say, like I said before, the gym. The gym is one of the best places to, even if you're evicted or homeless, for temporarily homeless, I would say get a subscription, a membership at a local gym, or a place where a gym where you can, first of all, um, and work out. So that's some entertainment and keep yourself busy during the long days. Another thing is you can shower. You can use water from the lavatory. You can take a shit on the toilet. You can watch TV. There is usually some Wi-Fi connection for the memberships for the members, and you can, like I said, watch TV. Yes, and you still have some social contact. And that is also very important if you live in a car. It's not because you're homeless that you do not have to have a social life. You can still socialize with people, and the gym is one of those places where you can do that. But there was another thing that you can do. Oh, you can refill some of your water at the gym. Usually that's something you can do. And if you do not trust that water, you can filter it. We're going to talk about that within a minute. Another thing you can do is go to the library. If you go to the library, and yeah, you can read books, you can learn new skills, you can look up information. There's usually Wi-Fi or computers that you can use for going on the web, or to help your situation further for free. So that's another thing that you probably can do. And yeah, those are the two most important things that you still can go when you're living in your car and get all these public utilities for free. So yeah, I always would, if I going to live in my car, always have your bug out bag next to you in the car. Why? Because if your car, if there is a threat, or somebody is robbing your car, or you see you know your car is fucked by any means, and you have to go on by foot, or you know what I mean. Always have your bug out bag. So if you have to leave your car behind, you still have your bug out bag that you can survive on the streets or in the area without any help. Yeah, I don't mean help, but you know what I mean. So another important thing is water. Water you can gather on several ways. I would say always keep some, if you can see it, like I always keep in the front a metal filled bottle for my bug out bags, and always keep some water extra. So if you have a river nearby, or a place, or a public place where you can refill your water, like at the gym, at your work, from family, friends, or when from local water source, I would say get one of those water containers that at least 10 liters. And this is not only for drinking, but also for cooking, cleaning, doing your laundry. And if that's a little bit too much to take into the gym, you can just take one of those bottles and refill these up at your work or at the gym. And with several bottles, you can get along for a longer time. So another important thing is be a gray man. So if you're going to work or have to leave your car behind for some reason, always make it look like there's nothing in your car. Like if you can see, I put my woolen blanket over all the stuff in the back of my car. I put a sweater around my bug out bag, and that way it's for a potential thief or a robber, it's hard to see what's in the car that's worth stealing, because all your stuff will probably be in your car. And like you can see, I use an old woolen blanket, and that makes it look like it's old. Oh, it's probably some dirty old stuff with rubber thing. So that's a very important thing you can do. Or you can use one of those sunscreens to cover it up if you don't have a woolen blanket or something else, or not enough to cover it. So that's another thing you can do to safely store your stuff. Always have some basic tools and repair kits or maintenance stuff for your car. So we're going from the left to right. Always have some extra gasoline inside of your car in a jerry can. So if you run out, you can at least stay for longer, or when you're a little bit tight on money, you can store it. You can fill this up when the price is a little bit lower. Some basic tools, oil. If you can see in the back, there's some also some other oil for against rust. Something to use in the jerry can to fill up your car in case you have no fuel. Some safety lightning triangle to put behind your car in case you are stuck, or you have an excuse for the police for a reason that your car is over there for a longer period of time. Some jumping starts cars, a jumping unit, a shovel in case your car is getting stuck in the ground, because that's another thing. If you're going to park your car into grass, if there is a lot of rain, your car could get stuck in the wet grass. And I've been stuck in the wet grass one time, and I could not get my car out without hanging it with this very strong rope onto another car and drag me out of it. So try to get one of those strong rope that is able to pull your car, or a chain to pull your car out of the mud or something like that. A safety light, fire blanket in case there is a fire, something to hose gasoline, a manual pump in case you get a flat tire, and a crick to lever up your car in case you have to change your tire. And of course, beneath all this there is a spare tire, so that's something that you need to also have. Those are the most basic things that you could have. But yeah, if you're a little bit of a mechanic, yeah, have something else or more. So this might seem a little bit very rudimentary, but if you have a tarp, you can build a little roof next to your car, and this could be especially handy in the summertime, where it's too hot to sleep inside of the car. You can sleep. I know it is not the best way to do this, but that is the way I could do it, where I was standing here right now. So yeah, as you can see, this could get a very long time. You can bind it to the rest of the car a little bit, and it's very rudimentary, but it does the job. And you can sit beneath this, and yeah, you can sleep here. You can just sit. When it's raining, you can try to cook. And if you're going to cook, I would advise if you have a tarp, use one of those gas stoves with one of those cheap gas patrons that you can stuck in. Always have something to sit on. That is one of those camping chairs that you can fold up. But yeah, if you just want to relax, have a sit. It's always handy to sit above the ground in case it's a little bit wet by the rain. And of course, yeah, if you're going to cook, there is always some pot in my bug-out bag. Have some extra food. I would also say, if you're going to live inside of your car for some months, I would advise to take take the calories inside of a dish or a box, but go to the stores and buy fresh food to get your vitamins and minerals. And yeah, that way your health will be a little bit more. And of course, have some water ready in case you have to clean something or do your laundry. The laundry you can do with a bucket. You perhaps can see, I would say get an extra bucket just so you can do your laundry. Have some in my bucket bag. I always have some soap. You can use some laundry detergents or something, but I would say just some soap is good enough to do some hand washing. And I would say that is one of those BioLit wood stoves that also create electricity, but don't use this beneath a tarp like this, because it will start to melt and you do not want that. Yeah, I would say if you're going to have the tarp, make it more horizontal. That is the way I had to do it right here. So that's another important thing you can do, especially in the summertime when it's too hot to sleep inside of the car. So another thing that you have to do, especially when it's wintertime or much colder, is yeah, it's going to get cold in a car if you're going to sleep inside of it. But there are several ways to help this a little bit. I would first dress in layers. So yeah, of course, have some extra clothing like this sweater or a trench coat, like the woolen trench coats that I always used. I would say watch that video. That's kind of a warm coat, long coat, and also a sleeping bag at the same time. Of course, your woolen blanket to keep you warm. And yeah, some people would say, why don't you use the warming system of the car? Yeah, you're going to use fuel for that, and that's not really that handy. Except when you're in a snowstorm, I would say put the car on every 10 minutes to keep the motor running, that it will not get cold. So when it's very cold and freezing, it could be a little bit handy to run for every hour, turn your engine on for 10 minutes. So that way it can get a little bit warm in the car, and your engine and your battery will not get flat when it's really, really ice cold. And to help it a little bit, I would not advise this, but as you can see, this is my Yuko lantern. This is just a small tea light candle, and I would say if you can put it somewhere in the center of the car, and because this is a very safe thing, the flame will never get higher than this. So the the interior of the car will not get set aflame, and it will, because it's in the center of the car, it will create a little bit heat like a stove, but then there is the danger of monoxide poisoning. So, but to be honest, in a car it's a little bit difficult if you put your car like this, where air can flow inside of it. There's the breeze it can get inside of. Put your window crack a little bit on. Perhaps the cold that get inside will be less than the warmth that this will produce, and the monoxide can get away and some fresh air can get in, and you're still warm. But I would advise you to make sure that something like this will not, from the back, will not get over the candle. But that is a little bit more dangerous. So I would say the best thing that you can do is dress in warm clothing, or you can take one of those sunscreens and put it in front of the window, and or put some other blankets against the windows so you insulate your car. But yet again, don't insulate your car too much, otherwise you will get monoxide poisoning. So it's a little bit of a balance between getting enough air in the car and creating enough heat without the monoxide poisoning. Even from, if you insulate too well, even your own breath could possibly create some monoxide poisoning after a long time, especially if you sleep in your car for 8 hours. So that's something you need to watch out for. And yeah, I would just say dress in layers, and I would say woolen layers, because if you're going to live in your car for a very long time, wool is one of those best clothing options, because it will not smell that's directly, because wool only drags moisture out of your skin. But if you wear some modern materials like polyester or something else, or nylon, it will also suck the oils from your skin, and that oil will feed the bacteria that will grow, and it will start to smell. That's actually basically why your gym bag is smelling always that bad. So I would say, if you're going to live for a long time, get woolen clothing, woolen underpants, woolen socks, woolen shirt, woolen jacket, and that way you will have to do less laundry. Talking about laundry, I already said that you can do a hand wash, but if you live in a car, you can also do go to a laundry salon and do your laundry over there, or ask a friend or a family member if you can do the laundry in exchange for a service or some money. Or like me, with me it's just a bucket, but I could also use my washing clock and do my laundry in the same way as I do at my home at the moment. So that's something that you need to think about. Another thing is self-defense. If you live in a car, you are vulnerable for, like I said, for thieves, robbers, people who just want to fuck around with people who are less fortunate than them. Or yeah, I would not say the police. Always listen to the police, because yeah, if they see the license of your car, they know who you are. You can don't fuck around with the police. Just be respectful. And if the police comes, always be respectful. And if you're cooperative and respectful, they will you can speak to their human side, and they will understand, and they will perhaps not give you a citation and just say, just move your car a little bit, or it's good for one day, but tomorrow you must be gone. Don't try to get angry. I know when you live in a car or for a certain time, you will be very angry, obsessed, sometimes depressed, and yeah, then you can make some stupid mistakes or decisions, or you will get angry and lose your shit. Don't try to do that. That's one of the most important things. Always be respectful, always stay positive. And I was talking about self-defense, so if you see somebody else, I would say, from the moment you see someone come near your car that shouldn't be, just drive away. Don't really see what the person wants. If they look like they have bad intentions, if you see an old grandma coming nearby to see why your car is parked here so long, no problem. But if you see a guy with his hands in his pockets, that's really usually no good. Just drive away. um, and in case you get surprised, always be ready to do some self-defense. Always lock your car so that they cannot open your car. Always be sitting at the steering wheel, so you can just, with the keys in the contact, so you can just start the car and run away from the moment somebody is starting to punch in your car or your window. have a weapon next to you, but not visible, so the police would not be threatened if they ask you why you are here. Another important thing, but something hidden but in reach. It could be a knife, a baton, uh, perhaps a gun. Alarm pistol could also be handy, especially if you live in Belgium, where the weapon laws are very strict. Or pepper spray, anything to keep somebody out of your car. It's very important. Uh, so yeah, those are the most important things to keep your car locked. Uh, have situational awareness. Perhaps you can put some alarm systems around your car. That could be very helpful, so like tripwire with cans or something improvised like that. I made a video about that too. So that's something that you can also do to warn yourself if somebody comes near your car, especially if you're going to sleep at night, and always be ready to be on the move. That's the best thing you can do in self-defense. And now, yeah, I think I'm almost through. See if there is a next point. So another thing that is very important is the toilet situation. Yeah, this could be a difficult one if you're living in a car. So if I would say, always try to go to the toilet at places like, try if you're parked near a public toilet, try to take a shit at your work, in a library, at a gym, if you have a membership, or if you're going to visit someone. If you are able to take a shit, always take that chance, even if it's preemptive. Another thing that is important is, because if you are sleeping in a car somewhere, there's not always a toilet nearby, so always take advantage of it. Try to regulate your system. Always eat at a regular time, so you have a certain time that you will know, I will have to take a shit, and at that moment I'm probably in a gym or at the library, or at my work. So that's something that you can do, regulate yourself a little bit. So don't try to eat all that garbage that will make you runs like Taco Bell or something that will give you the shits. But pissing is another thing. If you have to take a piss in a car, that could be at any time. So you can just get out of the car. But yeah, in wintertime or when it's raining, it's a little bit difficult, or when you're just sleeping. So yeah, this could be a solution. The bedpan. So yeah, a bedpan, especially this one, could be handy. You piss in it and you close it off and you empty it when you have the chance. And yeah, it is a little bit more handier, and it will get you out of sight. So that's another thing, that if you say, why don't you just go piss outside? Here in Belgium, they are very strict on pissing in public. So yeah, it's kind of difficult to do, especially if you're going to live somewhere for months. If people always see you piss at the same place or somewhere where they don't like, they will call the cops, or they will chase you away yourself. So that's something that you need to take in account. Yeah, so we're going to the next point. So another tip you can do is have one of those foldable bikes. These are very small, fit in the trunk of your car. Even in my Fiat 500, it will fit, and you can park your car somewhere where you are able to, but still use this bike if you're nearby enough to go to a cycle towards your job without using gasoline, or giving up a well space where you can hide your car, or set up a semi-permanent camping, to say. And yeah, it will save on, like I said, save on gas. If you have going to do some groceries, keep yourself busy a little bit by biking around. So yeah, that's another thing that is possible to do. So before ending this video, I want to give one more last tip if you live in a car for a certain period of time, and that is, change your PO box or post box, or let your mail come to the post office so you can collect it there. Because yeah, if you're evicted from your house and you need official documents sent, or you need some important letters, papers, or whatever's, yeah, you will need to still be able to pick those up till you find another place to go to. So yeah, this was my video on how to live in a car when you're evicted. I know for many people this will seem like the worst case scenario, but this is reality for a lot of people, especially in big cities. So yeah, I hope you will never have to do these things, but if you're going to do this is a sign of willpower, a sign of survival mentality, It's not the best, but that's the thing about survival. You have to get over your pride, over your what were your standards before to get better, to get to the next, get out of the ditch to save. So yeah, I know it's easily said than done, but I hope this video will help some people, or perhaps some people who have family that are in this situation, perhaps gives us some tips or some tools or some gear, or perhaps some advice like in this. So I would say, if you have any other things or experience or ideas for when you have to live in a car temporarily, please let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and watch out for part 3 about the eviction and homeless series.